Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. Happy Mother's Day to all of you moms out there. I hope you have a wonderful day today. Have some ribeye, something fancy that you want. That would be lovely. All right. Today I'm going to make it slightly shorter. We're going to just do 30 minutes. Scott and I have to go back down to my sister's house. We're going to try to finish packing and moving her today. And I just want to get started earlier today. So we're going to do 30 minutes. So if you guys have questions, chuck them in there. Because if not, I'll be pulling them off my YouTube channel. What else? Real quick before we get started. Don't forget the May 20th meetup. If you have not signed up, please do make sure you do. We're doing it in Bellingham at Whatcom Falls Park. We'll be doing a hike, and then we will be doing the food portion. Scott will be grilling for us, so you get some fancy gourmet flank and rib, or we're doing beef and cheddar kielbasa sausages. So, yeah. All right, let's jump right in. Linda Inslee said, did you adjust the fat you were eating along the way, or did you just keep eating the same amount while waiting for your body to fat adapt? I didn't pay too much attention. I think there's a couple things. Good morning, Keto Simple. Good morning, Life is a Beach. It just depends, right? If you don't have a gallbladder, you're going to need to slowly step into it versus if you have a gallbladder. Even if you have a gallbladder like I do, eating a carb and sugar diet, our bodies don't have to produce many bile salts. And what happens is you go from not eating a lot of fat to eating a lot, even with a gallbladder, you'll get indigestion, you'll get nausea and this kind of stuff. I just slowly tapered my fat up. Right now, I think I eat anywhere between 60 to 70% fat, sometimes 50-50 fat to protein. I don't stress about it. I've just been trying to more address eating when I'm really hungry. That's like the big thing. Good morning, Grateful Keto. Good morning, Addicts to Antlers. That's a cute name. Addicted to Antlers. Can't read. Mama Cat, Christian. All right. Christine, sorry. Today is not a reading day for me. Do you feel eating 2 meals a day is better than OMAD? For me, yes. The reason is I did OMAD for months, right? I found that I actually eat less food when I'm doing twice a day versus OMAD. And I right now I just don't eat a lot. I started eating a lot more. Like I never want people to think that I eat just as much as I eat now as I did in the beginning, because I was eating like 3 eggs and 4 pieces of bacon when I started. And now it's 2 eggs and honestly 1 to 1.5 pieces of bacon. I just can't seem to make myself eat more in the mornings. I don't really like eggs anyway. I just know they're nutrient dense, so I eat them. That might be part of it. But TUMAD is much better for me. But you decide what works for you. But it's all been trial and error, I do have to say. Mama Cat, I was just going to ask if you really watch your fat macros or just eat meat and other. I don't mess with my macros. I should have left that up there. How do I say this? The more restrictions, the more I have to think about what I'm eating, the more it stresses me out. Some people thrive on that. And if you do, that's okay. Like you do whatever's going to work for you. But if you're someone like me and that gets stressed out easy and has anxiety and stuff, the more simple I can make it, the 1,000% better off it is. Eat each meal. Like I eat each meal and it's afterwards. Am I feeling hungry? Stress? How do I feel after I eat? And then I will adjust it next time that, okay, I didn't do butter on my ribeye tonight. Maybe I'll add a little more butter in the morning to the eggs or, things like this. Most of the time, you just have to vary day to day. Like yesterday, we spent 6 hours moving and boy, was I sweating a lot. So I ate more last night than I normally do, but it's based on activity level too. Albert said, talk about how you feel healthy now than before. Oh boy. I mean, if you really want a good look at this, I think my 10-month is a good review and my 8-month is a really good review. But the biggest thing is the depression was just overwhelming. We were talking in Sunday Book Club today about how it's really easy when you're at the bottom of that barrel to just even trying to make a boiled egg can be overwhelming. That's where I was at. Like the idea of doing anything to get better just was overwhelming, sent me in these anxiety and panic attacks. And now the smallest things used to upset me. Scott would go, and it could be about nothing. And I'm like, oh my God, we're going to be homeless. The world is ending. And now it's just like, it takes so much for my stress threshold to be hit now that it's night and day. The walking, y'all, you hear me say this all the time, but like not being able to like really wipe my own butt or take a shower. Now it amazes me that I can easily touch my toes without holding my breath. It's crazy the improvements that I've had. Like just it's crazy in a good way. Weekend eater. How tall are you? I am 5'5.5". My BMI when I started was 59.3 or 6, and my BMI is now at 39.5 or something. So that's almost 20% drop in fat. That's more of a guesstimation because BMI is not super accurate. Keto Simple. If you're eating the same stuff on a normal basis, you kind of figure it out as to what it is you're eating without thinking about it. Yeah, I mean, you just get used to it and you kind of know, okay, ribeyes 50-50 protein to fat just on average. You kind of just, it becomes kind of intuitive as you eat. Mama Cat, do you ever worry about eating too low of calories from day to day? I've watched some of what you eat in a day videos and have wondered about how many calories you genuinely eat. I don't. And this is what, and people can agree or disagree about this. You know, you got to figure out what works for you. I follow Dr. Sivas's view about this. Food is energy. Calories are not a great metric because they don't take in consideration what kind of fuel you're burning and the state you're at. But they at least give us a generalized idea of the energy density of the food. We eat food for energy, period. Like it's a lot more complicated than that, but that's what it is. When you're overweight, you have consumed more energy than you need, right? So I eat, so I don't feel deprived in any way, because when I feel deprived, that's what like wants to trigger binges and eating bad stuff. I eat enough that I don't feel deprived in any way. And other than that, because I'm fat adapted, I have plenty of energy reserves on my body. So I know a lot of people are like, you won't lose weight if you're not eating enough. Well, that's actually not true. There's many factors like hormone stress, cortisol, because cortisol gets converted into sugar in the system that causes a lot of issues and things like that. So stress is not a good thing. And that's also why you don't want to make yourself feel deprived of not eating enough, because then your cortisol levels go up and then losing weight just gets even harder. Anyways, I like literally just like went left field here. But anywho, I don't worry about calories. I eat. I got extra energy, no stress. All right, Stephen, what do I do when I plateau? I'm assuming, is that what that means? You need to change something. You need to either move around more. And here's the thing with weight loss, I avidly do not believe in exercise in the sense of going on the elliptical and I'm going to burn, 30 minutes of calories. Do something that is active, whether it's just going out and walking, do something you enjoy like hiking, move around a bit more. Heck, doing the laundry if you're not a laundry doer, move around more. These things help with plateaus. Something else that I found that can help as well is varying day to day when you've hit a plateau, your energy consumption. Maybe eat less a little bit one day and a little bit more the next day and just kind of alternate so your body doesn't get in this like I'm only eating 1,200 calories every single day, if that makes any sense. That's my suggestion. The other suggestion is take a week and journal what you're eating. Sometimes, that's how I discovered on OMAD I was eating more than what I actually needed, was going through there journaling it. And I did weigh my food. And then I also noticed just the little sneaks of carbs. I was having like honey mustard, and it's like in my mind, I'm like, oh, I only had 1 tablespoon, or I'm sorry, 1 teaspoon of honey mustard. Well, turns out it was like a tablespoon and a half when I actually started measuring it. So these things can cause plateaus. And the last thing is, plateaus can be normal. It is your body just readjusting. If you plateau for a couple weeks, I wouldn't stress. Once you start hitting 4 or 6 weeks, that's when I would start like, okay, what's going on? And taking measurements, because sometimes our weight doesn't change. But like 2 months ago, I only lost 4 pounds in the month, but I lost like 2 inches off my waist. Sometimes it just doesn't equate. Mary, I'm where you were when you first started, very down on myself, need to lose 100 pounds. So angry at myself for doing this to myself again. It is very hard if you've spent most of your life beating yourself up for not doing what you say you're going to do, or having a goal, like I'm going to do whatever this diet is, and failing at it, or, so we're telling ourselves. This is my best suggestion. Realize the past is in the past. We can literally do nothing about 5 minutes ago, 5 hours, 5 years ago. Look at one, have a plan of action, what you're going to do, ketovore, carnivore, whatever you're going to do. Have a plan of action. My video that I just did Friday. Watch that one, because that's a good getting back to basics of where to start. And I really talk about letting go of trying to fine tune everything until you get the basics down in the beginning. Let go, give yourself grace. Understand you will never be perfect. I will never be perfect. There's no human that's going to be perfect. Letting go of that ideal of being perfect and perfectionism will help you more than anything. My next suggestion too is reading Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. That book helped me so much understand that I had been holding on to all this angst and anger at myself. And it also taught me, how did I get to this point where I felt so fractured inside and had that like part of myself that was so angry, would be so mean and bitter and like, you suck, you're going to fail, you're terrible. That part of me that was constantly degrading myself, like saying things I would never say to another human being, but saying it to myself. It showed me how to fix that by literally telling the truth at all times, being our word, or honoring our word. All of that. Tell the truth. That is like my number one piece of advice to yourself and others. If you are not going to do something, don't tell yourself you're going to do it, right? Like, I'm going to get up at 4:30 in the morning and go to the gym. I know myself. There's no way I'm going to do it. I'm not going to promise myself things that I'm not going to follow through. And it is a hard conversation to have with ourselves of being honest. Like, we are like vases, whatever you want to call it. We're like vases. We are very thin and fragile, but yet beautiful. Each of us is our own individual one. Every time we lie, and I'm not just talking about to other people, I'm talking about to ourselves, we create these like little micro fractures in ourselves. And once something has, thousands of fractures, it is no longer, it doesn't have the integrity to keep together. It falls apart. And that is what we are. Every time we lie, like a good example is when this is to outward, someone says, does my hair look good? I'm not saying be mean and be like, oh God, your hair looks ugly. Oh, this is terrible. No, be honest with them, right? Maybe I wouldn't choose that haircut for you, or, something, right? Do not lie, because every time you lie to someone else, that inner voice realizes you've lied. And it's like, well, okay, well, I lie to myself then. If someone can't trust my word coming out of my mouth, you can't trust your own word. And then that resentful part builds. So that was a little long, but that is my advice. Michelle, when I started, it hurt just to walk to the bathroom. I've lost 80 pounds. Congratulations. I'm definitely better, but it still hurts if I walk too long. Do you still experience pain when you walk? Depend on my back? No, I do not experience any back pain unless I've done something stupid. But that back pain that I had in the beginning, I do not experience any of that back pain again. I still do, like, I have my foot. I have a stress fracture going on with it. So that is something else. I just went too hard, too fast. I do get tired. And at the end of a 5-mile walk, My feet they're kind of achy, 5 miles is a lot for me. So I still experience things like that. Okay. The big thing is it getting better over time? And I have no idea how old you are, Michelle, but things like, if you have bone on bones with your knees, your hips, if your meniscus in your knees is degrading, there's a lot of factors going into this. So if just you could tell me a little more, could answer a little bit better. Christine, congrats. Thank you. Love your videos. Lost over 150 pounds. Amazing. Still had knee pain, bone on bone. Yeah. So this is something very, especially coming from physical therapy point of view. Once you are bone and bone, the meniscus in your knee, it's not well innervated with blood, so it will not and cannot repair itself. I am not an advocate for surgery. However, Carnivore cannot fix this. It is a physiological, or it's a physical degradation in the joint. And imagine over time rubbing two rocks together. What happens is, and that's pretty much what especially osteoarthritis is, what happens is the pressure points start developing because your bone's trying to keep itself from getting ground down. So it gets, instead of being smooth, right, because the femur and the tibia roll like this, the meniscus is what keeps it nice and smooth. Meniscus is gone when it's bone on bone. It gets all pointy, and then, just think about rubbing two really pointy rocks together. That's what happens. Carnivore will not fix that. Pretty much, you got to get a knee replacement. But losing weight, being more mobile ahead of time, and being stronger will well prepare you for having it done. Hi, Joey girl. Let's see. Mama Cat, appreciate it. As I've lost weight, I've gotten a bit taller. 5'6". I might get to 5'6" too. All right. Do you get bored eating only meat? No. I used to be that person that could only eat, like if we made a meal, I could only eat it twice. Third time, it's like I'm gagging it down. I used to be that I had to have variety in my life. I don't need that anymore. Why? Two things. I chose to eat this way. I'm not being forced upon it. Amanda chose to eat this way. Secondly, I use spices, so we just change our spices up, or the cut of meat or the type of meat. And I found that is a spice, like spices add to it, but that gives me the variety. Chicken, beef. I'm not a huge pork person, but fish, not a fish person either, but changing the cut of meat and how we cook it, that is enough for me. And I think it's a mental thing, because as I said, I used to not be able to eat more than the same meal twice in a row. Okay. Lynette, how do you know when it's time to switch from 3 meals a day to 2 meals a day and 1 meal a day? How you feel. Literally, you could trial it, go from 3 to 2, see how you feel. And if you're feeling off or hungry or something like that, go back to 3. It's really trial and error. If you can do OMAD, that's great. I'm finding I like doing 2 meals a day for me, and I did OMAD for months. Every person's going to be a little bit different, but the biggest cues are, I would just try 2 meals in a day. And if you feel fine, you don't feel hungry, deprived, anything like that, move on, 2 meals. And then eventually I try that for honestly at least a few weeks, if not a couple months. Try OMAD, and then you just have to trial and error how you're feeling. If you have that fatigue, or you're literally mentally obsessing about food or these kinds of things, then I would back down to adding another meal in. And you might be like me. You might do OMAD for a while and then realize, you know what, 2 meals is actually a little bit better. That's exactly how I know, is you just stop being hungry. I mean, that's the big thing. I can't eat a whole lot at one time. I can't eat a whole steak, but then I'll be hungry in a bit. I always graze like that. I've been at standstill for 1 month. I'm assuming you probably haven't had a bariatric surgery. With bariatric surgeries, you absolutely have to treat things differently, especially the type of bariatric surgery. So for those of you who have had it, the stomach is physically much smaller, and doing OMAD and 2MAD and stuff isn't a possibility. You have to do a lot of little meals. In this point, I would There's the video of Did I Eat Too Much? I forgot exactly what I titled it, but I think it's from like 5 or 6 days ago. Watch that, because here's the thing. Are you actually hungry? Is it just cravings? Have you tried doing things like bridge drinks or the salt rock? The Redmond sells it, or I think they call it a salt crystal. These kinds of things. When I eat between or want to eat between meals, using this, honestly, this thing is like my favorite. I've been using it for a few weeks now. It cuts through those cravings. So are you truly hungry? And understanding what hunger signals are. So that's what I suggest. Watch that video. Sometimes I miss vegetables. I do too. People always like look at me and they're like, you're fat. You don't like vegetables. I freaking love asparagus and honestly Brussels sprouts and things like that. Maybe I'm not advocating this for everybody, but I don't think it's a shame every once in a while if you're just like dying for some asparagus, have a few sprigs if you do fine with it. If that's like that one thing, it ain't gonna kill you. As long as, well, unless it's going to, then don't do it. Hello, Miss Grace Faith. Let's see. Oh, switch to carnivore, no knee pain. That's awesome. Yeah. And sometimes like there's people who do excellent with keto. And sometimes it's what leads them to carnivore because of the oxalates in the vegetables, especially us that are more sensitive, autoimmune, joint pains, and things like that. Yeah, it just varies. It really does. I have a bulging disc in lower back. Is that what you have? Yes. I'm actually not sure if mine's just bulging or ruptured. I have to go get an MRI soon of it to figure it out. It's in my lumbar sacral spine. I do experience, it's 90% better, but I do experience certain times for me if I lay supine. So if I lay on my back with my knees straight on the ground, I can actually feel the disc sliding out of the vertebrae or between the vertebrae, and it actually compresses the nerve ending to the point where I actually have to have Scott roll me to my side and I have to bend my knees to get it decompressed. That, again, I'm not an advocate for surgery, specifically back surgery. Losing any extra weight off your body, strengthening your abdomen. And this is something people are like, they have back pain. They always want to strengthen their back, which is not a bad thing. Our abdominal muscles run up and down though laterally. And they actually, when they compress and they're strong enough, they decompress weight off the spine. So having a strong core is vital, and getting extra weight off will help more than anything with bulging discs and things like that. So do that, because that's what I always recommend to my back patients too. Christopher, do you find your muscle recovery from things faster on carnivore and don't stay sore? Yes. Much better, much faster. I used to would be sore for days and stuff, like after weightlifting and stuff. And I find it's a day maybe. And even then it's not enough to limit me. The first time we started working out, I swore Scott was gonna have to roll me out of bed. But the next day I was pleasantly surprised. I was sore and I could feel it, but it wasn't painful, which is very cool. Chris, have you found any spices other than things that inflame you? I don't really use black pepper anymore. I found that black pepper does. I have not tried. People always suggest using white pepper. I just forget to get it at the grocery store. We really right now use onion powder, garlic powder, salt. Those are pretty much the main spices that we use anymore. I really don't use much of anything else, but the black pepper was definitely one for me. All right. Hi, Tammy. Congratulations on your 120 pounds. 9 pounds to go to my goal weight. Woo! That is friggin' amazing. I bet you are excited. Hopefully you have some fancy ribeye prime rib planned for once you get to your 9 pounds. Grace, what is a bridge drink? So a bridge drink is something, I don't have my big cup, but it's something that you drink to bridge you between meals. So like Scott and I eat between 10 and 11 and 5 o'clock, thereabouts. Like that's just the times we eat now. And let's say we eat at 10. I will choose a bridge drink. Tea, unsweet, obviously. Tea, coffee, water. Sometimes I'll add the element into it. You literally just sip on it consistently throughout the day between meals. The reason this is important, the reason it's a whole bridge drink is um, I used to always think when my stomach grumbled, that means I needed to eat. It is actually not a signal for hunger. All it tells you is there's not food in your stomach. It doesn't mean you need to put it in there. Our stomach grumbles all the time and does all these noisy things. When we eat, it muffles the sound so we don't hear it. When our stomach empties and our intestines kind of get towards empty, that's when the noise reverberates and we can hear it and feel the grumbling happening like that. It just means there's not food in there. I've learned my entire life, though, that meant I needed to go eat. It does not. You can minimize that and pretty much get rid of it by doing that bridge drink, by adding fluid into the stomach and in the intestines. What it does is it's pushing that fluid and stuff down. It stretches your stomach receptors out a little bit and it gets rid of that unnecessary hunger. The salt rock works kind of in a slightly different way. That what it does is it helps like trigger the brain to think that it's getting food. Because I always do the salt rock with water. Like I suck on the salt rock to rinse my mouth out because it's very salty. It's salt and minerals. And so I drink some water with that, and usually, bam, 5 minutes, cravings are gone. So water, tea, coffee. You can throw electrolytes in there. Some people just throw salt into their water, whatever you want to do. And that really does help us bridge further past these times. Dr. Sivas and I had a good conversation, and he said, which was a good point. If you have a dog, when do you feed your dog? Well, we feed ours at 8 in the morning and 5. Does the dog sit there and complain all day that they're not getting food in between? I mean, yes, of course, they'd like to get food in between. At least my dogs would. But they survive by eating at 8 and 5. And they do fine. They're healthy, not overweight, not all this. So this is the same thing. The bridge drink gaps you between your meals. Welcome, gummy bears. Great tip about ab strengthening for back issues, something I struggle with. Yes, there are some really, really good simple core strengthening activities that you guys can do. If you have any back pain, focus on strengthening your core, specifically the abdomens. I do not suggest sit-ups, especially for those of you with low back and bulging disc issues. There are simple things you can do, like it's called quadruped. Just Google it on YouTube and they'll show you how to do it. There's like alternating arm quadruped if you are okay getting on your knees. There's just some really simple things that you can do to help strengthen it if you don't go to the gym or you're just in a position where you physically just can't or don't want to. Okay. Because that is something. Scott is 150 pounds now. He has had back pain for a very long time. He's the worst patient, though, let me tell you. Family members are the worst. Actually, physical therapists themselves are actually the worst patients, funny enough. Anywho, so him and I, we've been really focusing on me. I need the core strengthening for my back. But for him, he doesn't have bulging discs or anything. He just has a very weak core, which when our cores are weak, I mean, that's where all the motion is in our spine, because the vertebrae have rotational and flexion and extension articulation that happens. So making sure that you support the spine, because our core, our trunk is where everything's connected, and having a weak core is very, very bad. So even if you don't have necessarily back pain like I do, you definitely want to have a strong core. Yes, Dr. Sivas, he's the one that introduced me to the bridge drink. And it works perfectly. He does coffee a lot. He'll put like milk or cream in his coffee, and he sips it all day long. I prefer water. I'm a water drinker. I get my 1 cup of coffee in the morning with heavy cream, iodine, and vanilla extract. And then I use water throughout the day, because I found if I don't drink enough water or have enough fat, I get constipated, and it's a way just to get a little bit more in me. All right, Zinnia. I find my blood sugars go too low on all protein diet, and I need some carbs. I can't do full carnivore diet. I wish I could. What do you do for vitamin C? I take a multivitamin. I'm curious how low is low for you. Like if your blood sugars are hitting 50s and 40s, that's low. If you're being symptomatic, like when my blood sugar, when I first started with being a diabetic, if I hit the 60s or 70s, I actually would get the shakes. Like my body was so unused to having that low of a blood sugar. Non-diabetic, completely healthy, normal, no problems. I just keep in mind that carnivore is not a high protein. It's a high fat, moderate protein, low to no carb. If you are having lower blood sugars and stuff like that, personally, I would just add in a little veggies here. I wouldn't add any like rice or anything like that. You can just aim for start with low carb veggies and then see if you can, if that's not enough, maybe a little bit more and just play with it. If you are a diabetic, it may take time for you to go from being a diabetic, especially if you take insulin. I mean, that's real risky. Then you have to be very, very careful about checking blood sugars consistently. Like if you are a diabetic of any kind, usually type 1s use the continuous glucose monitors now. But if you are type 2 diabetic, check your blood sugars constantly. What is wrong with diet soda once a day? There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, ideally, you don't want to have the diet soda because it has a crap ton of chemicals and artificial sweeteners. It depends on you. It can trigger the artificial sweeteners, make your tongue and make your body think that it's going to get sugar. So it'll spike your insulin levels. And then when it doesn't get it, it can trigger cravings. So if you do fine with it, then a-okay, you do you. If it, as I said before, if it's that one thing that keeps you on, do it. You could also try doing, I like seltzer water. I've never been a soda person, but I like apple juice. So I found, I don't remember the brand. Is it AHA? They have a caffeinated apple flavored seltzer water, no sugar, no artificial sweeteners. It's just bubbly water. I like that, and that completely satiates my apple juice craving. No need from it. Can a bridge drink have stevia or monk fruit or no sweeteners? If you have to have something like stevia, I would not suggest, well, monk fruit is pretty much stevia. If you have to have it, do it. This is the big thing because I still have like super carnivore people come at me about like using vanilla extract and spices. I don't care. If it's that thing that keeps you on, do it, because as time progresses, what happens is you start to feel better and you're like, you know what? I started my first few months having chocolate, dark chocolate on my cycle. And then I slowly realized, okay, I was eating it like intermittently more than when it wasn't on my cycle. And then I finally got to the point months later, I'm like, all right, done. So I don't do dark chocolate anymore. And you can get to that point. Use it as a bridge with your bridge drink to bridge over. That makes any sense. All right, please speak about taking iodine. What kind, how much, how is it helpful? Thank you. Penny, I have a video with Dr. Barry. I just think it's called Video with Dr. Barry that we talk about this. Iodine is required for our metabolic function, but it's also required for every cell in our body. I take Lugol's 2% iodine. I put 2 drops in my coffee every single morning. I believe Dr. Barry recommends between 2 and 4 drops. That is what I take. And we have iodine receptors on every single cell in our body. Unless you eat a crap ton of seafood, you are not getting it. We get it, or we used to get it, at least I did, on the standard American diet because they'd always use iodized salt. I do not use iodized salt because they put a lot of anti-caking agents and stuff in it. So that's why I take that anyways. All right, please speak out water consumption. Dr. Barry says water when thirsty. I'm 77, but may have lost my thirst reflex. Dr. Barry and I differ slightly in this. I have to have enough water with fat or I do not go to the bathroom. As long as I have the 2, I'm fine. The 8 cups a day, 8-ounce cups a day, it's arbitrary. If you move a lot and sweat a lot, you need to drink more water. I base mine on how much water I need is if the color of my urine, okay, that I think is the best one. It should not be dark yellow and should not have an odor because then you have a UTI, but that's a completely different story. I go by the color of my urine. It should be I don't have anything slightly yellow. It should be slightly yellow. It should not be like pale because you're probably getting too much water then. Normally not too much of a concern, but by the color of your urine, if it is darker, drink more. That's my opinion about it. Because as we do get older, our eating and drinking reflexes are not quite as strong as when we're there. Let's see. All right, a few more, guys, and then I'm gonna go. Can you share the PO box address for Ready Set Keto? I do not have their PO box address to give you, or I would. I think on their YouTube, if you go to the about, I believe they have their email thing there, and you might be able to reach out to them that way. I'm at the end of week 2 carnivore. I definitely feel the difference. I've lost 10 pounds. Congratulations. I'm finding I'm not really hungry and I'm not losing like I thought. I lost 10 pounds in 7 days. Okay. Couple things. Depending on how overweight you are, that will affect how fast you lose weight. Secondly, the first couple weeks is mostly all fluid loss. Does not mean it's bad. Any weight off the body is better. But when you are eating carbohydrates with salt, the best way I can say is they bind together and your interstitial space, which is right underneath the skin, becomes like a sponge and you maintain and hold so much fluid. Eating the carbs, your body dumps all that because it's unnecessary. Do not expect to lose 10 pounds in 7 days unless you're like 400 or 500 pounds. Like then you should have higher expectations. It will slow down. But here's the thing, guys, keep in mind, you didn't gain 10 pounds in 7 days. You did not, put on that extra weight. I know we want to get it off ASAP, but it's like pushing a round peg through a square hole. The more you try to force it and start doing things like, doing running every day just to try to lose weight faster, it backfires. It stresses you out. This carnivore is a lifestyle change. I know I say carnivore diet, but when I say diet, I mean dietary intake. If I ate donuts, that would still be a diet. It is a lifestyle change, and you just have to let your body heal and repair. Let's see. I'm not sure. I'm not eating enough. I'm not hungry. I eat when I'm hungry and don't eat when I'm not. That's my suggestion. Eat when you're hungry. Don't eat when you're not. If you have extra weight, get fat adapted. I think you said 2 weeks in. You may not be completely fat adapted at this point, which is fine, but yeah, I'm going to do a couple more and then I'm coming down, honey. Eat when you're hungry. Don't eat when you're not. Your body will adjust to the fat adaptation, and give yourself time. Again, a pound, like at this point, even though I'm at 245, 244, a pound to 2 pounds a week is what I'm expecting to continue. I still have, because I want to get to 149, I still have that much, 94 pounds to go, like that. I still expect 1 to 2 pounds a week, even though I am being more active. Do you ever use MC oil? I do not. Okay, guys. Next week we'll go back to an hour. I just got to go help. I got to go eat breakfast, lunch, whatever, to help my sister finish packing for the weekend. I appreciate you guys so very much, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye.